The True Meaning of Giving. Lessons from a Humble Monk. Welcome to today's story, where we dive into the heart of one of the most profound Buddhist teachings, the true meaning of giving. In this story, we follow the journey of a humble monk named Thomas, whose life was not filled with material wealth, but with generosity, compassion, and deep spiritual insight. This tale reveals how true charity is not about the amount we give, but the intention and love behind it. If you're someone who is searching for deeper meaning and spiritual growth, this story will resonate with you. I believe the message it brings is incredibly powerful, that charity rooted in compassion and selflessness holds more value than any material wealth. It's about the mindset we carry, the love we share, and the humility in our actions. Before we dive into the story, I'd love for you to support the channel. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights and reflections are a source of great motivation for me to create more meaningful content for you. Part 1. The Humble Monk and His Struggles. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village near the lush, serene mountains, there lived a humble Buddhist monk named Thomas. He had lived his life following the teachings of the Buddha: meditation, compassion, and mindfulness. But despite his spiritual devotion, Thomas lived in poverty. He did not own any possessions, except for the robes he wore and the simple bowl in which he received alms each day. Each morning, Thomas would walk barefoot along the narrow path leading to the village, hoping for food to sustain him. The villagers knew him as a man of great kindness and wisdom, but his life was still a struggle. He shared what little he had with others, never expecting anything in return. Yet, at times, even his heart would waver, and he found himself questioning whether his selfless way of life was enough to help him survive. As I read about Thomas's life, I'm reminded of how often we search for happiness in external achievements or material wealth. But true peace, as the Buddha taught, comes from within. In the chaos of our world, we are encouraged to seek material success, but it is in the quiet moments of generosity and compassion that we truly find peace. Part 2. The Meeting with a Rich Merchant. One day, as Thomas walked the usual path, he met a wealthy merchant named William, who had just returned from a trading journey. William was known for his wealth, his lavish lifestyle, and his generosity towards the village. He often donated food and money to the temple and the monks, but Thomas had never met him personally. William, seeing the humble monk, decided to offer him a large sum of money, thinking that the monk could use it to improve his life. Thomas, however, refused the money with a smile. "I do not need wealth, my friend," he said. "What I seek is not what money can buy, but the purity of heart that only selfless acts of kindness can cultivate." William was taken aback by Thomas's response. "But surely," William insisted, "you could use this to live more comfortably. Perhaps you could buy food, clothes, or even a house. Why continue to live in such simplicity when you could enjoy all the comforts of life?" Thomas, sitting under the shade of a tree, responded, "True wealth is not found in material possessions, but in the peace we cultivate within ourselves." The Buddha taught us that attachment to worldly desires only leads to suffering. If you want to know true happiness, give not just from your wealth, but from your heart. William, though initially confused, felt a deep sense of respect for the monk. He began to understand that there was something greater than wealth, the ability to live without attachment, with compassion for others. This part of the story brings me to reflect on the notion of wealth. We often chase material success, believing it will bring us happiness, but the true peace comes when we release our attachment to these desires. In Buddhism, the practice of detachment is essential to experiencing true freedom. Part 3. The Journey to Understanding. Later that day, Thomas went into the forest, where he encountered a poor woman named Sarah, who was struggling to gather firewood. She was frail, with a haggard face, and her hands were rough from years of hard labor. Despite her own suffering, she greeted the monk with a warm smile and invited him to sit. "Venerable one," Sarah said humbly, "please accept this humble meal. I do not have much, but it is all I can offer." Thomas, touched by her generosity, accepted the food. As they ate together, Sarah explained that she had been taking care of her sick mother and had not had enough food to eat for days. Still, she found the strength to share what little she had with the monk. "Why do you help me when you have so little?" Thomas asked. Sarah looked up at him with a gentle smile. "Because I have learned that the more I give, the more I receive." The Buddha taught us that true happiness comes from compassion and the joy of helping others. "I may not have much, but my heart is full." Thomas was deeply moved by her words and understood then that true charity was not about the amount of wealth one possessed, but the spirit in which it was given. It was in the simple, selfless acts of love that true generosity flourished. This part of the story is a reminder that we don't have to be rich to make a difference in someone's life. Often, the smallest acts of kindness have the most profound impact. The generosity of Sarah shows us that the act of giving is rooted in love, not in what we can spare, but in what we are willing to offer from our hearts. Part 4. The Test of the Heart. As the days passed, Thomas felt a deep longing to understand the true meaning of giving. One night, as he meditated beneath the stars, he was visited by a wise elder who appeared to him in a vision. The elder spoke, "Thomas, you have learned much, but to truly understand charity, you must embark on a final test. You must offer your food, your shelter, and your possessions to others, without any expectation of return. Only then will you understand the depth of selfless giving." Thomas's heart was full of peace, but he knew that this test was necessary to understand the true nature of charity. The next day, he set out on a journey, giving everything he had to those in need, regardless of their social status, wealth, or background. It wasn't until Thomas met an elderly beggar on the edge of the village that he experienced a profound transformation. The beggar, who had nothing but a tattered robe and a small bowl, smiled as Thomas offered him his last meal. "Thank you, Venerable One," the beggar said. "You have given me more than food, you have given me hope." At that moment, Thomas realized that the greatest gift was not the act of giving, but the love and compassion that flowed through it. The beggar had nothing to offer, but his gratitude was worth more than any material possession. This story brings to light the transformative power of giving from a place of pure love. It's not about what we give, but the intention behind it. True charity is about recognizing the humanity in others and offering what we can without expectation. Part 5. The Lesson of True Charity. The next morning, Thomas continued his journey, reflecting on his experiences. He thought of the wealthy merchant, William, and the kind-hearted Sarah. He understood now that true charity wasn't about giving from one's abundance, but giving what was truly meaningful. Whether it was the small meal from Sarah or the selflessness shown by the merchant, it was the heart behind the gesture that mattered most. As Thomas meditated that evening under the stars, he was once again visited by the wise elder in his vision. "You have passed the test, Thomas," the elder said. "True charity is not about wealth or status. It is about compassion, the ability to give selflessly, without expecting anything in return. It is a lesson that leads to peace, to wisdom, and to understanding." Thomas smiled, knowing that he had discovered the true meaning of charity. It wasn't the size of the gift, but the love that accompanied it. Conclusion. Thank you for taking the time to experience this story with us today. As we reflect on the true meaning of giving, let's remember that true generosity comes from the heart, and it is through our acts of kindness and compassion that we make the world a better place. I hope this story has inspired you to embrace selflessness in your own life, just as Thomas did. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more inspiring stories. And remember, your thoughts and comments are always welcomed and appreciated. They help fuel this channel and push me to bring you even more powerful content. Stay tuned for the next video, and let's continue this journey of personal growth and spiritual discovery together.